It's Sunday morning, and every decent man and woman is listening to Test Miles with Nick Miles on FM News 101 KXL. Buckle in.
How Sunday mornings is going to be even hotter today. It's time to talk cars for the next 60 minutes on your weekly automotive experience. I'm Nick Miles. You're listening to America's automotive radio show. Test Miles, locally created, nationally celebrated. This morning's team includes Misfits, Rapscallions, and Ne'er-do-wells. Sean Walker, Old Man Brad is here. And this is the part of the show when we get to talk about the cars we've been test driving this week. Brad and I have been test driving the same vehicle, so you'll have to find out how the young and good-looking evaluate it versus the old and not-so-good-looking.
I'm doing the same thing. I had Brad's last week car.
Oh, so really? When are we going to get the young and good-looking person to drive this car?
Right in front of you, Brad. Yeah, I'm waving at you right here.
Power of radio right there.
The Jeep Renegade, the 2015, is what I've been driving. 1.4-liter turbo, 160 horsepower. I kind of like this car. We had it at the Northwest Automotive Press Association's event called Mudfest, which is to determine our outdoor activity vehicle of the year. And it pretty much swept the categories. This little version of this vehicle just made mincemeat out of the off-road course. Dynamic, small, very, very aggressive, and a great little off-road vehicle. And usually with Jeeps, especially the smaller Jeeps, you don't want to go long distances in the vehicles because they're rough rides. The Wrangler, probably the most iconic Jeep in the world. It has sold over 100,000, but it's not a great thing to take on a trip from Portland to Seattle on the freeway. However, I would say the Renegade is slightly different from that. The Renegade is a vehicle that I could get into and I could drive long distances. It's not uncomfortable. It's fairly smooth ride. And it's larger on the inside than I expected. These small, what we like to call pint-sized SUVs have become really hot with manufacturers. We've seen Honda bring out their HR-V. We've seen the CX-3 coming out from Mazda, the small little Mercedes and BMW versions of these vehicles. And this, of course, Renegade is right in the ilk with all of those others. So there are four different trims: the Sport, the Latitude, the Limited, and the Trailhawk. Trailhawk, of course, is their top of the line with all the bells and whistles, with the nice red tow hooks up front. I had the Sport, which was the opposite end. I think it's the same one that you had, Brad, the Sport. The opposite end of the vehicle. I would honestly give it a really, really good 10 out of 10, this vehicle. Thought it was really great. I don't like the idea that the Sport doesn't have Bluetooth in it, but plenty of room inside the vehicle, and if you buy the base, you could still get away with driving it every day. And I love the bright colors.
Yeah, it actually reminded my wife, who had owned a Jeep Liberty for a long time, of the Liberty when she drove it. It looks more like the Wrangler, and the removable tops were great. Easy to do, and they had a storage container in the back. It was a perfect vehicle for that. It was... it actually took me away from maybe a Kia Soul purchase, which isn't really maybe its main competitor, but that was something I'd compare it to. It was easy to get in and out of. It was great to drive, comfortable.
The biggest difference between the Jeep Renegade and the Kia Soul is the fact that the Kia only comes in two-wheel drive, whereas all the Renegades are four-wheel drive.
But Kia is coming out with an off-road version here soon.
Off-road, maybe not. Four-wheel drive.
Yeah, I wouldn't say off-road.
I'm not
they have showed a concept at Chicago last year of an all-wheel drive version, but they haven't actually said whether they're making it or not. It has a hybrid engine in it as well.
Now, does the Wrangler have like all the cool little graphics and like the mud splash in the Renegade?
The Renegade.
Sorry. Does it have like the little mud splash?
The Easter eggs.
Yeah. Well, it like the tachometer has that little mud splash on it where the red line is. It has mud. And
should I tell you a story about that? Actually, everybody thinks it's a mud splash, but it's not. It's actually the result of a paintball gun, and that's why they did it, because it was supposed to be an activity vehicle, and everybody thought it was just splashed mud. So they said, "Oh, it looks like splash mud." So Jeep said, "All right, we're going with splash mud from
it's
now
brown.
on." Right.
If you want it to be, paintball, do bright green or yellow.
No, I get it,
brown.
but that's what it was. It was. I think mine was red, actually.
But it's like a brownish red. I mean, it looks like mud or clay.
Right. But I'm just telling you how they got there. Yeah, one of the things that Jeep do is they put Easter eggs in their vehicles, which is they hide little things in the vehicle. So if you look at the mirror of the Renegade, the mirror mount, if you look at the side of it, it has actually the vents for the mirror mount actually are the Jeep headlight and 7-slat grille.
Same thing with speakers.
Yeah, speakers. And I think in the pre-production ones, they had a little spider.
In the gas tank.
In the gas tank, but the engineers wanted that taken out.
I thought it was a funny crack at Mazda.
Oh, spiders in the gas tank. I just got that. Yeah. Mazda, if you didn't know, Mazda had to recall some of their vehicles because the shape of the gas tank was exactly the right shape for spiders to nest in, and they were nesting in the gas tank.
Well, there also with that vehicle, there's the little Jeep off-roading in the window trim up front.
Yeah, so the black surround around the windshield has a little mountain in the bottom right-hand corner,
and then the
a
back
Jeep going up it.
And then the back, there's a Yeti.
Yes, that's right. And if you also look at the X shape of the rear headlights and on the roof is actually the shape of a 1940s gas can, a World War II gas can.
Is this what happens when you have guys who used to be gaming designers moving over to the car industry?
I would have someone who was a gaming designer design my car a million times before some crusty guy who's, all about engineering. It's because it's much more fun.
It is fun, but this bottom line on this is it's a real Jeep.
Yeah,
that's what I came away with.
Trail rated.
Yeah,
absolutely. You get all the kids in the back, no complaining.
None. Well, they always complain
because of the car.
Yeah,
Isn't every Jeep always trail rated? It just depends on the level of trail rated it is.
I think they've started to do trail rated vehicles. John Vincent's shaking his head at me. He can tell us later.
But Jeep's had a couple of missteps over the last few years.
They have.
Yeah. And
well,
one of which was the Liberty that my wife drove. I didn't like that at all.
No, I mean, the Liberty was a great idea. Let's just say since they've separated from Chrysler,
yes,
from Mercedes, sorry, they have become much more forward thinking in their product. I think that's a
But the Liberty was great to actually get women into the brand.
John, come in. He's writing notes to me now. Just come in and tell me. Wait, Compass is not. Compass is not trail rated.
That was the other one. Yes. Thank you, John.
All right. All the new product is trail rated. There we go. This is the thing is I always complain about the Patriot and the Compass because I just think they were very miserable products from the company. However, they're selling so many of them now, they're never going to take them away. Scott Brown from Jeep constantly tells me, they're not going away. They're one of our best sellers, the Compass and the Patriot. So there you go. Sean, what have you been driving?
I was driving what Brad had last week, and I have the Nismo Juke RS. And it's a fun little sports or small compact vehicle. The only gripe I do have with the vehicle is the Recaro seats, because it does take time to get in and out of these seats. And after a week of driving it, I figured out how to angle my body so it wasn't so hard. But once you're in the seats, it's a very comfortable seat. And I even drove it to the coast and no problems with it. It holds your body and fits your body well. It's just, it is a pain to get in and out of it. It has the 1.6 liter turbocharged, 215 horsepower, 6-speed manual. I mean, all-wheel drive too. It's just, this car is fun to drive. It's quick around corners. It's a great little vehicle. Competes with the Velociter Turbo and the Mini Clubman S.
I think it's Veloster. There's no Erta in there.
Velociter, thank you.
Veloster.
Well, whatever. I'm not buying it. There's the Nismo and the Nismo RS, which the RS comes with a little more horsepower, brakes, performance packages, basically.
Here's the thing about this car, right? I went on the launch of the original Juke back in
10 years ago,
BC. No, 2006. Yeah, 9 years ago. I thought it was really interesting. I kind of liked it. Now it's on the list of my top 5 ugliest cars in North America.
It's a hard vehicle because it's like, I like it just for its uniqueness. But
it looks like a frog.
It does look like a frog
on the hood.
But it's one of those cars that's like, I don't know if I love it or hate it.
You look at things like the GTR, where Nissan did an amazing job at designing what is a very beautiful sports car. And then you look at things like the Versa sedan and the Duke, and you're like, what?
And the Quest?
What happened? And the Quest. Yes, it looks like someone took a minivan and just shaved it down the sides, chopped pieces off the front.
It's as if nobody talks there. Somebody had an idea, and they had power of attorney, and they just said, I'm going to do this.
All right,
I don't know. I mean, it's just one of those vehicles. If you want to stick out, this is the vehicle. But I'd also get the Nismo because It has a little more sporty look than the regular Juke.
And with all the body cladding and the...
I liked it. The one
but
I
not
had
the
was black
Recaro
and
seats.
All right, let's move on. We've got other things to do on the show this morning. Ford have a new technology coming out where you don't have to be in your car when it parks. Also, we'll be talking to the guys from Certified Automotive Repair in Salem about recalls and making sure you can stay cool inside your vehicle. And John Vincent from the Portland Tribune is going to be here because he's been on a couple launches this week, as have I. That's all coming up in Test Miles. I'm Nick Miles.
Test Miles, like NASCAR, but with one right turn. TestMiles.com.
Welcome back to Test Miles and FM News 101 KXL Automotive Radio show live from our studios in downtown Portland. For all the latest automotive news, you can follow us on Twitter at Test Miles.
Okay, Nick, here's a fun fact. The very first Ford car sold was to Dr. Fenning in 1903 for a grand total of $850.
What was your commission on that?
I made $3.50 on that.
Oh, poor Brad always gets pushed by us. Back in the 1950s, car companies started to realize that we are not all created equal. Some of us are skilled and adept at parking all sides of vehicles in all sides of parking spaces. Others, not so skilled. In fact, some of Americans' parking skills were just embarrassing, I guess, to say. All you have to do is go to YouTube and have a look. So car companies have a quest on how to help us park and help the parking challenged of us get vehicles into small spaces. Just, just look at some of those videos on YouTube and you can be quite entertained at some of the parking nightmares. Now, using cameras and sonar is one of the ways to do it to help us guide into parking spaces. But more recently, Ford and Lexus have championed technologies that steer your vehicle right into the parking space. So why not take things a stage further? Have a car that actually parks itself when you drive it. You don't even have to be in the driver's seat to do that. No, it's not science fiction. It's actually real. The truth is, Ford have just introduced something called Remote Park, which they are working on. It's not available in vehicles, as I understand, yet. Joining us on the phone is Joseph Urahan from Ford, and he is going to explain this new technology to us. Joseph, welcome to the show. Walk me through how this technology actually works.
Yeah, hello, good morning. It's Joseph calling. Last week we have showcased this technology in San Francisco at Pier 27, and you're right in saying, well, we have not yet released it for mass production and into the market, but it's about remote parking, and it's not too far away from today. So what we have shown is really a car which has no driver on the driver's seat, so there is no one behind the steering wheel. But there is a driver. The driver is standing outside. It's in a proximity of 8 yards maximum. The driver has a remote control in his hand. It's a bit extended remote control. You can command the vehicle to either drive forward or reverse, but you cannot steer it by the remote control. The steering itself is done by a 12-channel ultrasonic sensor system, which is already known for today's parking system, where you have like the beeping tones to guide you, but there's also something available on the market which is called parallel parking assist, so you can see the steering wheel turn around without the driver is touching it. But remote park assist is really a step beyond that. So you are outside, you give a command to drive into a tight parking spot, but another use case is really to also drive out of it. That's more important even if you think of a use case where you have been parked between two monster cars and you cannot access the driver door. So people today need to be very creative and entering the car through the trunk door or whatever. But with the remote park assist, you can easily command the vehicle to start the engine and then drive out of the spot, as long as you're holding so-called deadman switch down. So you are in full responsibility and in full control of the vehicle's drive. It's a slow drive of about 1.5 miles per hour, so it's really controllable. And the vehicle drives out of the spot until the doors are free, and then you can, either stop the engine and conveniently enter the vehicle, or you can leave the engine running and you drive away. So this is quite convenient.
Now, it sounds very futuristic. Is this actually going to be available at some point in the future, or is it just an experiment by Ford?
Well, we have shown this technology because we've taken it for serious. It's really something which should show up in the next future, talking about a timeline of 5 years. And it was a prototype that we have demonstrated this feature, and it was using really the known technologies of ultrasonic sensing, and it also a conventional remote control system is in your hand. At the same time, we have also developed with our new scientific research lab in Palo Alto, a connection to a smart device, a smartwatch wearing on your arm, and you can follow the details and the bits and pieces of the park event, and you have a fully connected car in your hand. And that's also another subject. We will bring more and more connected car services to our customers. So all in all, I would say we have shown that. It is still in a prototype status, but it's quite realistic to come to the market in about 5 years. And please be aware, Ford has always a task not to bring it only to luxury cars, but also to have it available for the mass market and make it affordable for everyone.
So that's a good question. Will we see this on every size of vehicle, or is it specifically made for bigger vehicles which have a harder time to park, or will we see it on cars as small as the Focus?
Well, I'm calling from Europe, actually. I've returned back from San Francisco, so in Europe, we have lots of use cases for it because we always have to park into tight parking spots. Here in Cologne, under the cathedral, there is a parking house, and it's really horrible for the drivers to find a suitable spot and park into it. And the same thing is, again, you come back to your car and you see your driver door is blocked. In the U.S., you have other preferences. For example, in Michigan, there is not a real big problem with parking spaces. However, the feature can also be used, and it has been demonstrated, to drive in and out of garages. So, of course, American garages are not really tight, but they are often very much packed with stuff so that you cannot enter and exit the doors. All in all, it's really a good feature for either Europe or North America, but also the Asian market will need it very much.
Great, Joseph. Thank you so much. Maybe the future of the self-driving car is closer than we actually think. Joseph calling from Ford, thank you very much, and enjoy the rest of the evening in Cologne. You're listening to Test Miles on FM News 101 KXL. Coming up next, we're going to talk recalls. I'm Nick Miles.
Throw it in neutral and coast in with testmiles.com.
Live from our studios on a Sunday morning, this is America's Car Radio Show. We'd like to thank you for being part of the Car Nation. For more fun facts about cars, you can find us on Facebook at Test Miles ENT.
Here's a fun fact to impress your friends with. There has been roughly 100 million vehicle recalls in the United States since last year.
Well, that's a lot of recalls. The number of vehicles on U.S. roads with potential defective Takata airbags appears to be less than half the 34 million initially estimated by the federal regulators, according to Reuters. About 16.2 million vehicles, roughly 1 in every 16 cars on U.S. highways, may have one or two defective airbags supplied by Japan's Takata Corporation. So how many times those vehicles may have been repaired is still, or how many of those vehicles may have been repaired and how many have not been repaired is still unclear. Now, the National Highway National Highway Traffic Safety Administration on Wednesday said it had not counted the absolute number of vehicles, but said it was aware of 30 million potential defective Takata parts that need to be replaced. The agency's website still said on Wednesday that the recall number was 34 million vehicles with those defective Takata parts. So how do you know if you have an airbag that needs to be replaced? How do you get it repaired? Our automotive repair expert Brian Socher is here from Certified Automotive Repair to help walk us through the whole situation. Brian, someone comes into your shop and says, I think I might have a defective airbag. What are you going to do to help them?
Well, if any customer actually has any concern about it, we can get online. We go to nhtsa.gov, and it'll direct us to a website where we can just type in their VIN and find out whether or not their car is one of the ones that is affected. So
once someone comes into your shop and has the question, you can definitely do the work for them. Are you able as a non-branded shop, or as a non-manufacturer shop, are you able to go in and repair those airbags, or are you recommending that people go to their dealer?
I recommend that the customers go to the dealer just because it'll be free. It's actually
the dealers are getting the parts for free, right? To do the replacement.
That's correct. Yeah.
So it's a fairly simple, straightforward thing, and you can check that. So when you're in the service center getting your oil changed or whatever else you need to do, they should be able to look it up for you while they're in there.
Right.
Now, the other thing I wanted to talk to you about is it's been pretty hot outside. It's close to 100 degrees, slightly cooler in Salem where you guys are located. So maybe this is a good time to have that air conditioning checked if your car isn't getting cool enough. Is it a good time to go get it recharged? Is that something you're seeing now? People are starting to use their air conditioning and realizing that the air conditioning isn't performing the way it should be in the car?
Absolutely. It's just human nature that we don't use it until we need it, and then we discover that it's not working at its fullest potential until it's 105 degrees out.
Over time, do cars need their air conditioning recharged?
Over time, there are some things that just wear out, in the system itself. So.
And do they potentially leak all the time, or is it only as they get older they leak a little bit, so you have to have them recharged?
Typically just when they get older, and usually when we service a system like that, we put dye in the system. So if there is an issue with an AC system leaking, we can detect that if the system does come back to us.
Right. What are we putting in air conditioning systems now? Because I know back in the day it used to be very difficult to recharge an air conditioning system, and they used to put some pretty tough gases and stuff in them. What do you recharge it with now?
It's R134A, and that's a very it's different from the other one. R12 is what we used to use, and
it's not as toxic.
Right, it's not as toxic, and very few shops actually can do the old systems anymore. So typically we can refit those old systems with the fittings for R134. So you can still use the system, but they're usually don't function to the potential of the newer systems, obviously, because it's a different kind of gas.
Right. So, is it expensive to have? Because I'm always worried, the car's not performing that great, but I'll just have the windows down even more. But is it expensive to have your air conditioning recharged?
Usually right around $100. We do have a special right now, so customers are...
But throw it at me. What's your special?
$25 off, which is actually about $100 to customers right now, and that's till the end of July.
All right, and so if you think your air conditioning's not functioning at 100%, just bring it into Certified Automotive Repair in Salem?
That's correct.
All right, tell us where you are so we know, so people know they can, if they're in the Salem or in the South Portland area, how to get to you.
Right, we're at 2880 22nd Street Southeast, or Salem, and you can find us online at carsalem.com.
All right, let's talk about what could be another reason that could be happening to your car if the air conditioning isn't working. So I know when I had my Land Rover, the heating wasn't working properly,
right,
and the air conditioning wasn't working properly, and it actually wasn't either the heating or the air conditioning problem. The head gasket was actually leaking, which you fixed for us. So it's probably a good idea that you don't just take it to an air conditioning place, you take it to a full shop, right? Because you can also diagnose any other problems that might be going on in the vehicle.
That's correct.
And you put it on a machine to do that, and then you get the codes, or you find out why it isn't functioning. You can look at the whole car.
Yes.
All right. So Certified Automotive Repair, carsalem.com. You can go there and have it recharged. And again, a $25 special for your guys.
$25 off.
Well, a $25 off special. I should put the off special. People are coming in and going, excuse me, I thought my air conditioning was going to be $25. $25 off special at your shop in Salem. You can find them online, or you can go to the address in Salem. Probably want to make an appointment first of all.
Sure.
You guys have also been doing your charity work as well. Last time we talked about it coming up where you do the servicing for free. Are you going to have some more of those?
We're doing our next one. We're gearing it towards Veterans Day, Family Service Day, and that'll be, I forget the exact date on that, but it's...
We'll have an announcement here, though.
Right.
So, and again, explain to us how that works. If you can't afford to have your car repaired, you'll help?
Correct. And they're basic services, oil changes and whatnot, but we typically do a full-on inspection of the vehicle and let the customers know what's going on with their cars.
And I've been down there for Family Service Day before. It gets quite busy. A lot of people, you have to book ahead of time, come in. Did you service a lot of people last time that you did one?
Yeah, we did. We serviced 15 families, and which 3 of which actually came in. Their cars were in pretty dire need of some serious service, and so we feel pretty happy that we're able to help these families get some, get to the bottom of some of the issues that they're having with their cars.
With the Family Service Days, of course, all you have to do is book ahead, and you'll do that basic. You'll spend 1 hour with the vehicle, and you'll do as much as you can in that 1 hour, right?
Yes.
And then the next one coming up, Veterans Day. I want to also make a point of saying that you work with Habitat for Humanity as well to help some of the people out who work with Habitat to get those cars serviced as well.
Right. We do have that nonprofit partner, but being as we are gearing it towards Veterans Day this time, we are reaching out to other veterans organizations to service some of their cars. Yep.
All right. So tell me, those vehicles that you saw, was it pretty scary when you opened the hood and went, oh, you shouldn't be driving this?
I had one vehicle come in, and had blown a rear brake caliper out, and so he actually, when we got in the car to move it into the shop, that had no brakes.
Oh.
No brakes at all. So we redid the entire rear braking system and put new front pads on the car. So, we are limited to 1 hour, but when we see a safety concern of that nature, we usually try to address it when it's in there.
Yeah. So when you drove into the shop, did you guys have to kind of manually stop it?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It was scary, man.
I just see that tool chest, which is at the end of the bay, getting closer and closer, and the car's not stopping as well. All right, Brian Sosha from Certified Automotive Repair, thanks for coming in again. If you go down to Certified Automotive Repair and you feel that you may have a recall, they can help put your number in the machine and find out whether your car is on the recall. Good time to take advantage of that $25 off to get your air conditioning taken care of. And of course, we'll let you know right here on Test Miles when the next Family Service Day comes up, and that is where you can get a free service for your vehicle. Of course, this time around, guided towards veterans. You're listening to FM News 101 KXL. Coming up, we're going to be talking about 4 of the latest vehicle reveals that all happened last week. I was in Milan, Italy for one, and I was in Detroit for number 4. In between, John Vincent got to see 2 and 3 from Chevrolet. That's all coming up next on Test Miles.
Favorite us, tweet us, friend us, love us, all at testmiles.com. It's Test Miles on FM News 101.
Live from our studios in downtown Portland, Sunday morning, and you're listening to Test Miles on FM News 101. For more fun facts about cars, do visit us on the Facebook page.
Here's a fun fact to impress your friends. In the year 2010, 1 out of every 1,615 people across the world bought a Chevy.
So that sounds so weird to me.
I didn't know how to say it with it flowing right, so...
One out of every 1,615 people
bought a Chevy.
Wow. That means they're just such a huge brand, isn't it?
Especially internationally now.
Absolutely. John Vincent's joining us from the Portland Tribune. There have been 4 reveals this week. I went to Milan, Italy to see the brand new Giulia unveiled. Let me just tell you, I have never been so impressed with a vehicle in all of the time seeing vehicles unveiled. I think they got absolutely everything right. The reveal was pretty flawless, apart from all the Americans having to stand in the back of the room and all the Italians being up front, which was a bit frustrating since I was on their turf. And usually we see the reveals in the United States. 510 horsepower, 4-door sports sedan, V6 turbo engine. They're saying no lag, looks beautiful, and the launch was absolutely amazing. But John, you were there for launch number 2 and I guess launch unveiling number 2 and 3 this week in Detroit. What did you see?
I was with Chevy this week, and I saw 2 of their new cars. First, the new Camaro convertible. They showed the Camaro first last month and showed the convertible version in Detroit this week. It's gorgeous. They did it right. Power operating top up to 30 miles per hour. Built-in tonneau cover. It's going to be a good car for them.
That's always been, I guess, one of the favorites is the convertible version of the Camaro. And you couldn't really have a Camaro without a convertible version. We knew it would eventually arrive, but they've also managed to get the weight down too, because one of the things with convertibles is usually the weight goes up because you have to put so much strengthening in because you're missing half the car. But they managed to keep it sort of very slim, haven't they?
They have. The whole car just has a feeling of lighter and sleeker and slimmer.
Good. And the second vehicle that they unveiled was
the 2016 Chevy Cruze, a critically important car for them in a big compact sedan segment.
Some of the biggest car makers in the United States, in the world, for instance, in that subcompact and that compact division, just don't seem to be getting any traction. Kia is one, Hyundai is one, Chevy has been one for a while. Just don't seem to quite be able to get into the territory of Honda and Toyota. Exactly.
They're trying really hard on this car by making it look a lot like what we see from other manufacturers. And new engines, they're supposed to get it up to 40 miles per gallon.
I will say that looking at it, I can see some Asian influences in the vehicle.
Some Asian influences, and if you look at the profile, some influences from across town from their friends at Chrysler.
Right. I think they've done a very good job with it so far. It remains to be seen once we get inside the vehicle. I've been pretty impressed with Chevy's new vehicles, especially the Malibu. I was very impressed at the look of the new Malibu, and this looks like it fits in the same family. It looks like it fits in the same family with the Volt.
Very much like the Volt.
Right. They sort of they seem to have a good theme going throughout Chevy's design. And then we were both together in Detroit at the end of the week at the Chrysler Proving Grounds in Chelsea, and they unveiled a new drag mobile, basically a vehicle that is for those hardcore sports fans.
Yep, the Challenger Drag Pack in 2 versions, one with a supercharged engine, one without.
The sad part about the unveil was the burnout that they had been planning all week didn't quite go as planned.
Nope.
They even put bleach on the road to make sure there was lots of smoke. It stalled, couldn't restart it. Then when he restarted it, the driver actually managed to have it running and hit the starter again, which is always a horrible sound for anybody. And then what should have been an amazing peel off with lots and lots of smoke ended up to be about 3 or 4 seconds before the car started going sideways and he had to take off down the strip.
But he did miss the tent, so that was a good thing.
Yeah, and the probably 200 or so journalists standing on the other side of the road, which is great as well. There is, of course, footage online to see that. The price is not cheap, though.
$99 to $119.
Yeah, this is for real hard.
So what's the purpose of this car?
People who have lots of money to spend and want to make lots of smoke.
Street worthy, or is it strictly
not in its current stage. I mean, I think you'd have to change the tires, and we weren't sure about whether it has airbags or not.
Yeah, it's a sportsman class drag racing car. It's not meant for driving on the street.
The guys at World of Speed and down at Woodburn Drag Strip will be all over this. Dave at World of Speed will be buying this vehicle
had the launch
tomorrow.
there.
Yeah, they probably should have. I know he'll probably have more than one in his collection as well. All right, thanks, John. Good launches, and we expect to see those cars at the LA Auto Show to see inside them and a little more about them. Test Miles online 24/7 at testmiles.com. We'll be back next week with another show to entertain and inform you about the latest cars. And, of course, just open the Tribune and read some of John's stuff there if you get lonely for John when he's not on the show. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks for being with us. I'm Nick Miles.
Test Miles, like NASCAR, but with one right turn. Testmiles.com.